Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the Khaki team to having me on board. I've been a long admirer of their walks all over the city. Many years back when I moved to Bombay, almost 15, 16 years back, these walks in south of Bombay, etc., was still a new concept, and it was just kind of catching on at that point of time. Of course, whenever we travel to the cities in Europe, etc., we always kind of participated in these walks, assuming that there is a lot of history over there. I mean, you go to Europe, you kind of assume that you're going to be taking a historical walk, which tells you about like hundreds and thousands of years of history of Rome and Paris and whatnot. Somehow, I moved to Bombay from Delhi. Delhi has a very rich history of its own. Bombay has a very rich history of its own. And yet till about 15, 20 years back, we were not kind of shaking hands with history enough. There were not that much information available. There was not that much literature available. There were very few walks happening, and people were going around, with their daily lives and kind of not realizing what are we missing out on. And it's thanks to these walks that Khaki does and a few other companies do all over the country now in various forms, that people are getting to know a lot more about either these vast chapters of history or these tiny pockets of history, as the case may be, wherever you are. Now, how this Bandra Neighbourhood Project came into being, Farooq mentioned, it's really not from a historical perspective. The historical perspective came on its own. I'll take you through my journey. I kind of just started, and history actually started getting added to it as I moved along. So I hope some of you are residents of Bandra, or I get a lot of, I get a contact from a lot of people who are now staying abroad, who kind of grew up in Bandra. So I hope, some of you have spent your past here. I don't know how many of you are from outside of Bombay or have never visited Bandra, but I'm sure this is one of the localities in India that most people have either seen in movies or read about in papers because of the heritage that it has, and also because that the kind of community feeling that you get in Bandra, the kind of quaint vibe that you get in Bandra, and that a lot of people are aware of this locality in Bombay. So I'll just share my screen. I have some stuff to show. Okay, so this journey that I took in Bandra, once I figured out that it is kind of converting into a concerted effort from my side, I call it the Bandra Neighbourhood Project. It was actually initially called just Neighbourhood Project, and the idea was that wherever you are, wherever you stay, every neighborhood has some history to tell. I'm lucky to be in Bandra, which has thousands of years of history, but everywhere that you stay, there is some story, there is some history, which if you're curious, you will be able to find out. Also, for me, I was, what you can call an immigrant, right? I mean, I came here for a job, and I was not born in Bombay. And for me, as somebody who has come from outside, I pretty much wore the hat of a traveler, hat of a tourist, when I started looking at these places in Bandra. So you will see a lot of flavor of that as we go along. What happens, I think, in our daily lives, especially when you live in cities which have a lot of history associated with them, is that you touch the past every day. I mean, you're traveling, and you're probably, going in an office building which has a history of its own. You're roaming the streets, the shopping arcades that you go to, the places that you eat at. everywhere you kind of touching history in some way or the other, right? And I always used to wonder, what would it feel like if I lived in a city like Rome, where every street that you turn into is telling you a story, right? It's got some story behind it. And when I came to live in Bandra, even though initially it didn't appear like that, but as I started peeling away the layers, it appeared to me that I'm in the middle of a continuum of time which has been going on for a very long time, and will of course go on as we move forward as well. So when we are in so close contact with history every day, as happens with most things, you kind of tend to ignore that, right? I mean, so many people using Bandra station day in, day out. Of course, not right now, but earlier. And yet kind of vaguely knowing that, there is some history here, but not really knowing it. So it is something which is a part of your life, and yet you don't know it as well as you could if you wanted to. I must say I'm not a historian. I did not start this project with a view to either archive heritage or with a lot of historical information. I'll be honest, and this is true. This is true of not just Bandra, but everywhere that I travel to in the world, and I've traveled a lot. I I first try to feel the place before I go into books and learn to know about the place and create some mental picture of the place. I first try to feel the place as I would without knowing anything, and it's only later that I try to find out the history of that place. And for me, history is really not about facts and figures and years and getting the chronology right or anything such. It is really more about just knowing how life used to be here earlier. uh, Everywhere that I go, for me to spend the time in just watching people go by, do their daily stuff, is far more fascinating than visiting their tourist spots or anything else. And I must say that, I kind of realized that I was applying a similar principle as I went about knowing more about Bandra. I've been traveling for over 20-25 years now. It's really my one big passion to kind of see the whole world and see how different people live, how different cultures have evolved, etc., etc. I've been doing travel talks in the country, in India, all over the country for almost 7 years now. Uh, and I used to kind of earlier, when I used to do these workshops, I used to tell people how to travel more for less, when you have less time, when you have less money, and how to kind of get the best experience out of travel. And over the last few years, over the last 3-4 years, it has morphed itself into a responsible travel awareness platform. It's called One Shoe. It kind of works towards travelers becoming more conscious of the negative impact that they can have on the destinations that they're visiting, and how to minimize that, how to become a traveler that you add to a place that you're going to, and not kind of negatively impact that. Uh, my big thing is just curiosity. I mean, I've tried to dig deeper into what drives me towards these projects or towards my travel, and it's really just plain simple curiosity, just this desire to know how it used to be. And like I said, for me the big thing is more about what people eat in their daily lives, which supermarkets do they buy from, what crops grow there, and what kind of fruits they eat, and small simple stuff like that. And I feel more connected to a place that way, rather than seeing the big monuments they built, or the big things that they did. I find my joy in minutiae, rather than the big things. And for me, history feels like time travel. uh, Sometimes when I go to a place and I wonder, okay, I have come here in summers, what must the place look like in winters, or what must it look like in autumn, and how is it possible to visit this place in all seasons? It's impossible, right? I mean, however much I travel, I can't see the whole world in every season. And to me, when I start digging deeper into the history of a place, it just feels like I'm undertaking some kind of time travel. So I get to see the place in a different form. And that's really one of my driving things. So the Bandra that most people know is something like this, right? I mean, everybody knows that, a lot of film stars live here, and this is one of the shopping paradise for people who come to Bombay. If you pick up any tourist recommendations for people coming to Bombay, if you see top 8 things to do in Bandra, for example, shopping will be one of them. And and this hustle bustle, and it kind of, for the people who live there, it kind of all becomes very, very tiresome, very monotonous. And even though we are in a place like Bandra, you get bogged down with your daily commute, with the daily shrill noise of the place, etc. And you kind of forget your connections, or you forget where you are in the whole timeline of the past leading towards the future. You kind of forget all those big things, and all you remember is the crowd and whatever other problems that we deal with on a daily basis. And the Bandra that stays hidden is, if you start looking at it with those eyes, something very quiet, something very peaceful, something very beautiful, something that really tells you that life would have been very, very different over here in the past. So talking about how did my journey begin into finding this hidden Bandra. Not so hidden actually, because everything is in plain view, but something that we ignore on as we live here. So as many people would know who are aware of Bandra, that it has only 3-4 main roads, and rest everything is these very small lanes. And a lot of people, I can guarantee, people even living in Bandra have not been inside those lanes. I mean, I have been kind of as a matter of my project, actually been targeting to get into each of these lanes, and even I haven't been in all the lanes in 5 years now. So you can imagine, a lot of people would probably come, live here, go away, and still not been in many of these lanes. So one day, as I was walking, I just decided to take a turn into a lane that I had never been in before, just as one of those whims, because again, I try to not walk on the same route every day. And as that happened, as I went into this non-descriptive kind of a lane, and I came across this tile on a bungalow, and it's a French name. It means the Garden of Happiness. The Saint Monica Road, at that point of time when I found it, was not even on the map. I mean, of course, now Google Maps is far more detailed than it was 5-6 years back when I started. It was not even on the map. So the lane itself was not marked, and I just went into it, and I just stood in front of that house dumbstruck. I mean, in the middle of all this chaos, 2 main roads was this connecting small little lane, and in the middle of that lane stood this house. This is that house, and so many thoughts flashed through my mind, as I'm sure must be flashing through a lot of people's mind when they see these places in Bandra, is that it looks exactly like Goa. This is so serene, this is so beautiful, this is so pretty. You can see some of the high rises right behind it, just like one small lane away. It's almost like nestled between all this concrete jungle is this haven. And as I stood there, I thought that, by not capturing this, I am missing out on something. And a sense of urgency took over me that, I need to kind of, quickly start clicking all these beautiful bungalows which are there in Bandra. And I started slowly, kind of photographing these bungalows. And as I went around, I was astonished because there seemed to be no end. I was just going on clicking. Every day I would come whenever I could come for a walk in the morning. And it took me months and months to just cover the 3-4 lanes which were just near where I used to walk in the morning, and each one of them more stunning than the other, and each one of them kind of in their own way taking me back in time. and remember, I'm yet no expert when I'm clicking these pictures. I'm no expert in its Portuguese history or anything. Of course, I know that Bandra has a Portuguese connection, and all of us know that, and that's why you see the similarities between these houses and the names and Goan names, etc., etc. So you kind of know all that, but you don't really know what happened in this place, or how the place used to be. And it doesn't seem to end. I mean, I was just going on clicking these pictures, and over the 5 years that I've been clicking these pictures, over the last 4.5 5 years, I have now hundreds and hundreds of these places. Some of them have a name, some of them don't have a name, some of them are on a road that all of you know, some of them are on lanes that if you ask me to go again over there, even I would not be able to locate them. So so I just kept clicking, and really there was no real objective. It was not with a sense of conservation. It was just really for myself. It was really for me to create my own Bandra memories. I mean, I did come from outside. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here all the time, and for me, this is the kind of Bandra that I wanted to uh, have as a memory with me. And uh, a lot of these places, when I started putting up on Facebook, and a lot of people started commenting on it, people who live in Bandra, people who have been in Bandra otherwise, or people who've never been to Bandra, all of them started commenting, and they couldn't believe that in a place like Bandra there were these kind of places that still exist. One of my very favorite places. A lot of you who kind of travel to this place might have seen this house, uh, and this is one place that I've photographed as it changes, as the greenery changes with the seasons and all that, and kind of feel connected as the time moves in this place. And of course, you first thing that you start coming across is the number of crosses that are there in Bandra, right? Again, you're aware of its Catholic history, you're aware that there are many churches, but you're not exactly sure of how the whole thing started. So again, I mean, I have some pictures here, but in my logs, in my files, there are so many more pictures that even for a presentation like this, it is so difficult for me to find out which pictures to include, which pictures to leave out. So I kind of put some rules for myself. When I started this photographic project, I put some rules for myself. That firstly, I didn't want to talk to any people. I mean, a lot of people ask me, so have you spoken to the people who are inside? And I never really made an effort. On the contrary, I used to be very conscious that nobody should see me clicking these pictures. And I didn't really want to really kind of find out what the local people had to say, because they bring their own personal perspective, and that was not a part of the project that I was undertaking. I did not do any location markings specifically, because a lot of them were these people's houses, and I tried to be a little discreet in trying to hide their addresses or trying to hide the streets, because even though I was clicking them and putting them up, I was kind of aware that these are not public buildings, these are private spaces, and I did not kind of map them out on Google Maps or anything. The other rule that I had for myself was no famous buildings. So I kind of tried to stay away from the usual trappings of Mount Mary Church and some other famous buildings which are here in Bandra. Again, it's just a personal quirk. For me, it was easiest to, and I'm no photographer. I mean, I'm just like you. I have a mobile phone and I have a camera in my mobile phone, and I just kind of use that. So the reason I didn't want to take any special equipment or anything, but again, I didn't want to give it this whole aura of a photographer's project. It was not for that purpose, and I'm no photographer. So it was just the casual picture that I can take in my mobile phone. Also, there are different periods of buildings that you see in Bandra. And my focus was only on the bungalows, only on some very old buildings, rather even the TDRs, which are kind of midway between the high rises that we see today and the old bungalows that are there. I did not click any of those pictures. And I told myself, Bandra provides a lot of opportunities to click really, really beautiful sunset pictures from a lot of vantage points. And I told myself that I will not include that because it's only about the bungalows and nothing else. I even didn't include any food pictures, even any historical perspective of food, because again, uh, for me to keep a focus, otherwise, I would kind of lose focus on it and be everywhere. So these were some of the rules that I kept for myself when I started photographing these pictures. And I came across some really, really nice looking, strange looking, structures that make you question what must have gone in the person's mind who built this. I mean, this looks like such a quaint structure. Um, uh, and I was, again, it was in a lane. And the thing about lanes is that there are some people who know it very intimately, and there are some people who are totally oblivious to the existence of that lane. So I found that. Then some interesting things. House 12 north half, and you could make out that probably there was some sort of a dispute, and this kind of house got divided into two, and this was one of the parts. uh, I I am hardly here in Bandra when it's Christmas time, but in the times when I'm here in Christmas, it really takes on a completely different charm of its own, and every house that you see brings its own personality into the decorations that they do, and some very interesting stuff. And if you're ever here at Christmas time, please see if you can do one of those walks in Bandra uh, during Christmas, and it's really wonderful. It really, again, will transport you to a different time. Some some unkempt structures, some really beautiful structures. And even though I do have these self-inflicted rules, once in a while you will come across something that you can't just stop including in the repertoire that you're creating. So in summers, in summers, this is a cluster of 2-3 golden shower trees that kind of really come alive, and it's really strange because they will stay like that for a few weeks, and then they go off. It's really, really beautiful. Now, in all this, how much of historical perspective came in? It was actually, rather than me trying to explore the history of the place, I just kept coming across small tidbits. So, for example, anybody who will do a walk in Bandra will go to St. Andrews. And once, very early, when I was here in Bombay, I saw this poster that they had put up. And I was, I think I had the exact reaction that the church wanted when they put up this poster, was that of absolute shock that, this place is even older than Taj Mahal, and not many people know about it, right? um, and I think that's pretty much where I thought that, okay, I need to get to know a little bit more. I need to read this a little bit more. And remember, this is many years back, and again, at that point of time, there was not that much information available. I tried to find books, and at that point of time I could not find many books either. And even in the even on the internet, there was not that much information. Of course, the situation is very different today. There's a lot of information available, and I keep reading, and I keep adding to my own knowledge as I go ahead. So this was one of the first blows, if I can say that I came across. And then as I'll show you a few more now. In St. Andrew's Church, again, this is very famous. The stone cross, which is the original cross built by the Jesuits, many years back, and it's still in its original form with its original engravings. Uh, so this now, as you cross Hill Road, you can actually see this cross from Hill Road. And maybe we don't see it as we go along. Maybe we see and we don't realize. And it was really this dichotomy of not realizing what we are living amongst is what drove me to do this project. So as I kept clicking on pictures, when you see something like this and you realize, okay, the place is almost 100 years old. Yeah. And the place has been here before you came, and has seen probably a lot more than than we do, even though we are kind of going through our daily lives. That is something that drove me. Now this house, again, in a very, very small lane at that point of time, nobody was using that lane so much, and you just look up and you see 1925 written at the top of this house. And again, this is really what kind of drove me uh, to put all these pictures together and go through go through a process where I actually kind of built it into a project. Also, one of my British friends visited me in one of those months when I was photographing the pictures, and she told me that like many British people, that her great grandfather used to be in Bombay. He used to work with the East India Company, and his house was there somewhere, and she had got some letters as clues as to where it could be. And I took her for a walk, and one of the places that I had photographed was the house where her great grandfather lived. And again, when you kind of, this is living history. And when something like that happens, it's really wonderful. Then one day when I was walking through a street, I just saw this road sign, and I said, in the middle of all these Saint Leo, Saint Anne, Saint Joseph, all these kind of road names, what or who is this Tertullian? Maybe some of you already know, but I didn't know. And then I started reading more about Tertullian, and I figured out that he was actually the father of Latin Christianity. I mean, he translated Bible into Latin, and Latin is the language that is spoken or was spoken into Vatican till a few years back. All the in the Vatican City, in their all the conferences and everything, they used to speak in Latin. But this is the guy who started it all. And there is this road, Tertullian Road, and a lot of people must be taking this road on a daily basis. And who is this guy? And those are the kind of stories that kept me going throughout my project. A lot of crosses were built during the plague. A lot of people know about it already. So when I came across this, it didn't come as a surprise, but it says by the villagers of Malla. Now, some of you know that Bandra was a collection of villages. So when I clicked this picture, when I saw this and when I clicked this picture, my immediate question was, so where is this Malla village? Some people know, most people don't. Also, most people don't, because like Ranwar village is very well documented. There are signs which tell you that this Ranwar village, there are stories of Ranwar village put up over there in the village square. There are no other signs, or very, very few signs of the original villages of Bandra. So this was about 3.5 years back. And I, in my own way, tried to find out the location of every single original village of Bandra. And Malla village, by the way, is, if some of you have seen this cottage just a little ahead of Bagel Shop, the area behind Bagel Shop is actually Malla village. Many of us might have visited the Bagel Shop. This lane that goes inside, not many of us might have stepped in, but if you step in, you can get a feel of a little village square, and that is the Malla village. Now, of course, coming to a little bit of history part. Again, I'm not sure if it comes as a surprise to a lot of people that Bandra was earlier called Bandora. I also, just like everyone, I went through a lot of literature available on the net or other places to find out what really is the origin of this name. And as some of you might have read that some people say that it comes from the word bandar, which means port, and it's obvious that it is by the sea. So and Bombay was a port and all that, so it kind of came from that. Or I have also read that Bandar actually, ape, the word ape, and because there used to be a lot of greenery and there used to be a lot of forest, so there used to be many monkeys there. I'm not sure which of these stories is true. However, as I started reading, of course, you will see this Salset plaque everywhere. And I'm sure if you have attended many talks by Khaki, I'm sure you would know the Salset connection with Bombay. In fact, just the talk before mine, Dr. Parab's, he very nicely explained that, Salset actually also comes from another Sanskrit or Hindi word, which means 66, because it was a collection of 66 villages. And you will see that this is what kind of connects it to the old Bandra. This bell, which is even today rung every day in Mount Mary, talks about Bandora, which was, at least at that point of time, was the name that Bandra was better known as. And if you see the bell, it says Our Lady of the Mount, which is the Mount Mary Church. So here's a little bit of background, from, of course, I mean, it goes even beyond this in the past. But a quick Portuguese history is when in 1534, the first person entered into the Bandra Creek and kind of, decided that this place should be taken under his control. And how the merchants and the missionaries and the royalty of Portugal kind of worked together, as used to be the military plan those days. You kind of bring trade, you kind of bring religion, and you take over a place. So it used to be inhabited by fishermen, and just where St. Andrew's Church is, and there's still a lot of fishermen colonies over there. And that's where they established the St. Andrew's Church, and a lot of people were converted into Christianity. The hard work that they did was in terms of, they also started using local language, local customs, and a nice fusion of their religion and the local customs was what gave them success with the local people. We also know, I mean, everyone over here is a fan of history. So you know that when King Charles of England married Catherine of Portugal, the island of Bombay was given to England. However, Salset Island, on which Bandra lay, was not a part of this treaty, and it remained with the Portuguese. So while it remained with the Portuguese, they established many more churches, because religion was playing a big part in how they make a place their own. And in a very small circle of 4 kilometers, there are these 6 main churches. I was reading somewhere, it's the highest concentration of churches anywhere in the world. So again, people who are familiar with Bandra would know each one of these churches. Apart from that, like I said, I was on a quest to kind of find out what the local villages are. And this information, which is available on the net now, was not available then. And so I kind of, when I went around kind of reading and figuring out where each village was, some of them were marked, some of them were not marked. But Shirley Rajan is still known as Shirley and Rajan. Malla, you can still find. Pali village is now much better known because of all the restaurants that have come up there, and all the new age people who are living there now. Kantwadi is a very small village, but I was able to locate where it is. It is still known as Kantwadi. Ranwar, all of you know. Boran is right behind. It's on Hill Road. It's on right on Hill Road. Baroda, Khar, Santa Cruz, and all these together at that point of time were what was known as as Bandora. It was a collection of all these small villages, which were either agricultural or fishing villages. And after that it passed on to the British. In between, there was a little period of Maratha rule as well. And again, people know that there are some other places in Bombay as well, like Taichiwadi, etc., where you can also see similar kind of influences. And as a part of Bombay, I think the history of Portuguese, the history of British, and the history of war between the Marathas is pretty much similar because it was all in the same area. Now, once it came under the British control, the story is pretty much the same. They got the trains in, they got the first bus service in. I'm sure all of you are also aware of East Indians and how they kind of differentiated themselves from the other Catholics who were coming in as the British were settling in as well. And I remember, for the longest time, their food habits, the East Indian food habits, were kind of kept totally separate. That was a totally different cuisine, and bottle masala used to be this one characteristic of the East Indian cuisine. There's people who are interested in kind of historical exploration will find a lot of small things. If you go to the Mount Mary Church, or for example, this that Dr. Parab also spoke about in his talk, is small chalice, like a small mural in the wall that you can find at St. Anne's Convent. You will find a lot of these small markers of history. However, like I said, that really was not so much a part of my project. And I really did not go around kind of, looking for evidence of heritage and history. The evidence of heritage and history was really kind of just staring in my face. So I'll take a quick jump to the present now. And the reason why I think I kind of catalog this street art as well is because in a lot of ways, this is forming the part of the continuum that we have seen in Bandra. In a place like Pali village, or in a place like Ranwar, Varoda Road, there is a lot of street art that can be seen now. And it's also becoming some like a characteristic feature of Bandra. And for people who have not seen, not seen all the street art which is available in Bandra, this in itself somehow starts defining how the place evolves, or what is the characteristic of the place. So you will see a lot of, apart from a lot of Bollywood art, of course, you will see a lot of politically inspired art, very in new age kind of art. So for example, this mural that I found in Pali village, unfortunately is now being disfigured. And I had used this motif for my exhibition poster as well, and I was kind of a little sad to see that the mural was disfigured, and this actually captured why I was photographing all these bungalows, because a lot of bungalows were being raised to make way for high rises, which is maybe a necessity for today. And maybe we don't need to kind of feel so passionately stuck to the old way, because if you talk to some people who live in these bungalows, they will tell you that there are some problems that they're facing and why they need to modernize, etc. But the fact that they will go away one day, or they might go away one day, is what really drove me to photograph them. So again, some more street art. This lane, I'm sure everybody has seen, the Nagrana lane, which is now very beautifully painted, and it takes you to Ranwar village. And this is one of the latest murals that I found, which was painted during the lockdown, right after Irfan Khan's death. This is one of the first few street arts that I'd started seeing in Bandra, and this incidentally used to be opposite Bagel Shop, where I did my exhibition of some of the photographs of Bandra Neighbourhood Project. So I don't do many walks, but sometimes some friends who have seen my photographs, and they kind of make small groups, and then I take them around to show some of the places that I've been photographing, and it's like a 5-kilometer walk, and I leave them at the steps of Mount Mary. So if they want to see Mount Mary, etc., they can do so themselves. And a lot of participants in my walks are actually residents of Bandra. And the people who, when they see my pictures, they're quite surprised to see that these places exist in Bandra, and that's the reason why they want to come for a walk. I'm very thankful to some newspapers and to Khaki to see that that there is some value in this very personal, passionate project that I took up, and that that there is something that we are helping keep safe. in Bandra. And lately, you might have read that it was announced that in top 40 coolest neighborhoods in the world, Bandra was a part of that list as well. And when it talks about neighborhood, it's not just about history. It is not just about the vibe. It is also about the community feeling. It is also about the kindness that people can show towards each other, and that's what make it a really, really special neighborhood. So so that's how my journey continues. I'm still coming across new bungalows when I walk, and I'm still photographing them. And I'm not sure what direction exactly this will take as it moves towards the future. I really hope that I'm able to put some kind of like work with some organization and at least put some plaques, so the place actually starts talking to you, right? I mean, we don't have to try so hard to go looking for these stories where we live. I mean, it will be so much better if some stories were told to us, and the place can talk to us as well. I really feel that at heart, Bandra remains a cluster of villages. I mean, given all its recent glitz and glamour and everything, it remains a cluster of villages. That's the kind of characteristic that it retains. And yeah, it's a special place that many of us call home, and that's really what makes it very special for me. Thank you so much. That was really just a little bit about my attempt to photograph a part of Bandra's history. And thank you so much to Khaki to give me this platform to talk about it. I can take some questions now, or
yes.
whichever.
Thanks. You have really brought a sociological twist to heritage, Ansoo. So thank you for that. And I really like the fact that you spotted these smaller things which were not really in the scope of your project. For instance, the little markers against the church, and highlighted those. So I think the point that I took back is that how to keep your eyes and ears open when you're walking through a neighborhood. So going to the questions, Ashish's question was, where does one access this rich repertoire of photographs which you've taken? I guess the social media handles which are on the screen should be enough, right?
Yeah, it's actually in a Facebook album.
Okay.
So you can access it through my Facebook page. I must say that, I have not been able to catalog all of them in a very successful way. There are really hundreds of them. And, on the social media, you can see a few of them. But as days go by, I'm kind of adding more and more to it. So if you can keep coming back, you will probably see more.
So there's your answer, Ashish. Gauri says that she found it difficult to believe that these are taken from a cell phone.
Every single one of them.
Okay, I'm sure.
I have no other camera, by the way.
Okay. Question from Kaiwan. Have you thought of geotagging these pics on a map?
I've been tempted. I've been tempted, not because of anything else, but because sometimes, when I'm going through my own pictures and I start wondering, where did I click this one? Like, which lane was this? And, and sometimes I feel that, if I could put all these pictures on Google Maps and kind of geotag them, and that will be so cool. But two things stop me. Like I said, one, because, these are people's houses, and I'm not very comfortable, putting them, I'm not sure. I've not taken their permission. These are not, these photographs have been taken from the street, from outside, without their permission. So firstly, because of that. Secondly, I think maybe at some point of time, when I have a lot of time on my hands, I might just do that.
So speaking of taking permissions, have you ever been shooed away? Have there been any nasty incidents?
Every time I click a picture, including till day before yesterday morning, my heart starts racing a little bit that somebody from some window is going to, shoot me or something. And I'm always kind of ready with my answers, and what I will have. It hasn't happened so far. So hopefully I will be able to do it in future as well.
All right. And the question from Minaz is, what are the books and readings about Bandra that you recommend?
Well, these days I'm just getting a lot of information from the net. In fact, on Wikipedia itself, the amount of information has increased a lot about Bandra villages, about Bandra heritage. Trust me, when I started this 5 years back, there was very, very little information. There was only one book, which was some very old book. Unfortunately, I forget the name now, which was not available also. And somebody told me that, I will have to go to some old man in Bandra who might have a copy. I never got around to doing that. But a lot of information is available on the net today. However, I do think that there is definitely a space for a book to kind of compile all this information, because on the net, you know how it is. I mean, the information is very fragmented, uh, even though there is a lot of it. But I think maybe somebody's already writing it as we speak.
Let's hope so. So I know this is a slightly unfair question. Which do you believe is the most picturesque area in Bandra that you photographed?
Oh my God, no, very difficult indeed. Uh, I don't know about photograph, but this area around Peter Dyas Road is something that I'm a little partial to.
Okay.
And near the Bandra Gymkhana, a little partial to, but I mean, because you can see many such places together. But otherwise, trust me, the most picturesque places are in such hidden lanes that you really have to lose yourself as you walk, and then you will come across that place.
I have an observation. Maybe it's not valid. Maybe I didn't get the full breadth of your work. I didn't see any grubby pictures. They were all beautiful, picture perfect, so to speak.
Yeah, so I'll tell you three reasons for that.
Okay.
One, I only go out in the morning when there is, Bandra wakes up very, very late. Bandra is not an early riser. So the streets are empty. There are not many people around. Firstly, secondly, a lot of my pictures are taken right after monsoon. So I don't take pictures year round. I take them right after monsoons in the winter months. So, for example, this is now my peak month for photographs. So, what happens is two things. One, they have been cleaned with the rains. They're clean as they can be. And secondly, the lighting is really, I find in winters, it's a little soft, and the lighting kind of is really good. I don't have to try too hard to do that. So those and maybe there were some grubby pictures that I just didn't include in this, so that's also possible.
Okay. So if somebody wants to start a project like this, how would you get them flagged off, so to speak? What should they be doing? What kind of inquiring mind should they have?
I would say start walking, first of all. I mean, that is most important. I've seen a lot of times, even for our small chores that we have to do, we kind of, either take a car or take another vehicle. And when we don't walk, you miss out on many big things as well. Forget small things, many big things as well. So walking is most important. And secondly, like I said, I mean, you don't need too much. Just if you want photographs, just a mobile phone, or if you like to take notes, just a small notebook. So that is your personal preference. So the only two things I would think you need is your curiosity and your 2 feet to walk around. And like I said, I don't read about a place before I start something. I don't do that in my travels also. But I read a lot once I've seen that place. Then I start kind of, voraciously reading about a place and start making connections. So there is a lot of information available on the net these days. I think it's very easy. These days, it's actually very easy to do these kind of photographic projects. And I hope whichever neighborhood one is in, and, they can do something like this, because you can easily, put the pictures on Google Maps and all that. And it's really, really convenient and easy to build like a photographic project of a place with any theme that you would like, either a history theme or whichever theme you'd like to take.
Our regular viewer, Dr. Ashish Kelkar, is very, very polite. So he says, I hope it's not too rude, but he wants to know if you use any special phone or software. And the
no,
color
really,
balance is fantastic, and the photographs do not pixelate. So
pixelate, they won't pixelate because I click all my pictures in high res. So all the pictures are in high res. I think that the mobile phone cameras these days are really, really, really nice. Mine is not the most updated one, but some of the new ones are really even better. And color balance also, I mean, if you see some pictures, and I myself wonder if I could make it a little more bright, or if sometimes I do a little bit of correction in terms of if the picture is looking too dark or something, but really I don't color correct, and I don't whatever you see is what my phone captured. And I think, and there are also, by the way, there are also the bungalows that I have clicked many times over, and obviously then use the best picture that I get for my exhibition, or for a talk like this. So maybe it's just a combination of these factors.
You mentioned you added or you tagged on the name Bandra to the erstwhile name of Neighborhood
That's
Project.
true.
What was
Yeah.
that? What was that all
Yeah.
about?
So what happened was that I, when I started putting these pictures up on Facebook the first time, I used to use a hashtag called Bandra Desh, which was something like, that every place is I used to say that, every place can be a planet, because, when I do my travel talks, a lot of people ask me, how many days should I keep for some XYZ place? And I could never answer that question properly, because for me, it could take you a lifetime to kind of know any place, or you could finish it in one day also. I mean, you just take a hop on hop off tour and you could finish it in one day also. So every place is a like a microcosm, and you could spend a whole lifetime knowing about it. And I used to call it Bandra Desh, because it was different from Bombay, and it had a different vibe, and almost had like a different feel from the rest of the country. So I just started calling it Bandra Desh that time. And the other hashtag that I used was called the Neighborhood Project, because this was a project that I was undertaking to know my neighborhood. So that's what happened. And then at some point of time, because of the way social media works, I realized that I need to kind of use one hashtag rather than two. And for that reason, it became Bandra Neighborhood Project. But I would love it, if there could be other neighborhood projects that could start anywhere else, and we just kind of keep expanding that.
So your hashtag of Bandra Desh reminded me of another tag. Of course, the term hashtag was not invented then, but one of my earlier companies where I worked, a lot of people from Bandra, and somebody coined a name for the whole collective of the people from Bandra, and that was Bandro Indian.
Wow.
Obviously, it was taking on.
That's nice.
It was taking off on Anglo Indians.
Yes, and I think in spirit it kind of means the same thing. I mean, in spirit, this Bandro Indians is, because they are kind of, in a world apart.
So any plans of moving beyond Bandra to say Khar, Santa Cruz?
Well, I walk most of these days. For my morning walk, I'm mostly walking in Bandra because that's where I stay. So I mean, I haven't ventured. And like I said, there are still so many more bungalows for me to click that I haven't kind of exhausted out of Bandra yet. But yeah, sure, why not? I mean, anything can happen.
Great. So I hope a lot of people who are listening may have caught the bug from you. Hopefully
I hope
that
so.
you have sparked off some kind of effort on people's parts in looking, observing, detailing more. That brings us to the end of the questions. There are lots of compliments about the photographs. Somebody said that there are many videos on Bandra history on YouTube. They commend you about the privacy concern. And somebody said it was a very good introduction to explore further. Superb eye, great clicks, composition. Thank you so much for your time, Ansoo, and thank you everybody for attending, and have a great evening.